Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the El Cajon City Council meeting. The meeting is called to order, and I'd like to ask for our city clerk to please call the roll.
All council members are present.
Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a brief moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the September 12th, 2023, and the agenda of the September 26th, 2023 meeting in accordance with state law, city council, and housing authority policy. We have one presentation on today's agenda. I'd like to invite Mike Anderson to the podium to accept a proclamation for German American Month. Hi, Mike. How are you today?
Good. How's everybody?
Good, good. Did you start the Oktoberfest already?
No, Friday.
It's this Friday.
This Friday.
Okay.
Yep. I
Okay.
got flyers and stuff. So
This
Friday, I think a lot of you guys are going to be there. I remember getting some. Unfortunately, you've got a conflict, but we'll see you soon.
I'm sure it's going to be great. We have a proclamation for you. You have it. Do you have it right there with you?
I do.
Let me just read the last part of it. Now, therefore, I, Bill Wells, Mayor of the City of El Cajon, together with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 to be German American Month. We call upon all the residents to recognize the vital role German Americans have played in the development of our city and nation, and furthermore express our appreciation for promoting traditional German culture with live music, folk dances, games, and contests at the annual Oktoberfest in El Cajon. Please join us in celebrating the 51st anniversary of the El Cajon Clubhouse.
Thank you.
And they left out one big part, the food.
What's that?
The food. They left out food. That's the biggest part of it.
Oh, that wouldn't be they. That would be me.
I think that we call that culture.
Oh, yeah. So plus German foods and beer.
There you go.
Oh, I'm here. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So tell us about what's happening.
Pardon me?
Tell us about what's
Okay,
what's
well,
coming up.
it's like I said, it's our 51st annual. We had a big celebration last year with number 50. It's a family affair. If you haven't been, everybody's invited. It starts, it's 2 weekends, this weekend, the 29th and 30th of September through October 1st, and October 6th through 8th next weekend. And, we have our band. They're already starting to fly in from Germany. I've been getting on Facebook that as they're boarding the planes from Munich or Frankfurt, one or the other. So that's coming up. We're supposed to get the kegs of beer in tomorrow. We've been out down there with work parties all weekend, setting up the tents and the booths, and it's coming along. It's really going to be good. We hope the weather is great, and we hope everybody joins us.
You'll be there Saturday.
Saturday day we start. So Friday the 2 Fridays we go from 4 to 10 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday we start at noon to 10 p.m. Saturday to 9 p.m. on Sunday.
So I'm going to have to come during Saturday day because one of the guys in my band is flying out from back east, played professional basketball in Spire for several years, and he's going to want to come see this. So I'll bring him by on Saturday afternoon. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Anything else to tell us about?
I just want to introduce my cohorts. Joel's the president of our club, and Tim is one of our valuable members and hard workers. So we'll have some flyers to pass out if you don't mind. To invite everybody, and we'll go from there.
Do you have a website and a phone number or anything if anybody needs more information?
Our website on here is just www.oktoberfestelcajon.com, not in, but just El Cajon. And the phone number is 619-442-6637, and they're both on here.
And if you haven't been to this, it's a really fantastic Oktoberfest. Best one I've ever been to.
It's the best one. You're right.
It really is. Right? Nobody from La Mesa here, so we can say that, right?
Okay, we'll see you this weekend, everybody. So.
Mike, I just want to make sure you pass along thank you to all your volunteers with the German Society. Like the mayor said, it's a fantastic event. I've poured there. I plan to be there for the tapping of the keg. It's
Great.
A family event, and it's authentic, unlike other Oktoberfests. around town.
Yep.
But please pass our thanks along to all the volunteers, and El Cajon's proud to host the best Oktoberfest in San Diego County.
Well, now that you mentioned it, we could not do it without our volunteers and, really support the club and keep the prices down because, again, we have to pay for the band and MC and stuff like that. But also, there's just really literally hundreds of volunteers that come up with all these different positions. We've had, like I said, work parties, and throughout the day, all these volunteers work 3-hour shifts for the most part. And as long as they're having fun, it spreads to the customers and everything. So we're pretty proud of that, and I thank you on behalf of the volunteers, and I will definitely let them know.
Who's tapping the keg?
Supervisor Anderson.
Very nice.
Yep. Usually I don't know, but I'm early this year. so okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Mike. Appreciate it very much. Okay, agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council? All right. We're now at consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any of the consent items? Staff?
No, sir.
Angela, any speaker cards for consent items?
We have no cards, sir.
I'll make a motion then to approve the consent items. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
We're now at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any speaker cards for public comment?
Yes, sir, we do. We have one from Taylor Abil. 2 items, actually. But the first one is Taylor Abil.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, City Council and Mayor Wells, my name, as we said, is Taylor Abil, and I am a resident of Luke Lane here in El Cajon. Before again, allow me first just to recognize and express my heartfelt appreciation for all the dedicated work that you members of the council have undertaken to enhance and improve our city. It's evident that the council is committed to the betterment of our community, and for that we are truly grateful. Today I come before you with immense gratitude for the improvements made to Luke Lane, a long overdue upgrade that has undoubtedly enhanced our neighborhood's quality of life. However, while I express my appreciation for the newly paved street, there are several issues that I feel compelled to address, as they have caused frustration and inconvenience to myself and the residents of our Luke Lane neighborhood. Firstly, there was a significant lack of clear communication throughout this project regarding when the project would begin and end, as well as where we could park and on what dates. It left residents confused and at times our vehicles in inconvenient or restricted locations. Improved communication on parking restrictions would have greatly alleviated this issue. Secondly, there appeared to be a lack of communication with EDCO, our trash collection service. Coordination on days when trash services would be interrupted was evidently overlooked, causing disruptions to our trash service, the cleanliness of our neighborhood as trash cans overflowed due to missed trash pickups. I myself spoke with an EDCO driver for our street who was quite frustrated to have to come out on a Saturday to pick up the trash after I made a call to the company requesting the pickup. He told me the street was blocked by the construction crew and that neighbors should have moved trash to 2nd Street for pickup. However, no one communicated this to the residents or to the trash service prior to blocking access to the road. Aside from this event, throughout construction, we were never told what days trash cans could be out or not on the street. Furthermore, and more importantly, the lack of drainage planning for the finished road surface and curbs is of real concern. During the last major rain event, we witnessed water overflowing in areas it never had in the past, flowing around curbs and eroding significant portions of dirt on the north side of the road. All this muddy water flowed across the street directly into the only storm drain installed at the end of the street. If this is any indication of what to expect over the coming years, I fear this road will quickly deteriorate due to erosion. You should have access to photo and video documentation of this problem, which I sent to Councilman Phil Ortiz. Additionally, the choice of materials used for the finishing of the road appears questionable. With early signs of wear and tear due to cars driving onto the curb, mostly delivery vehicles, we're concerned about the longevity of the road. Our community deserves a durable, long-lasting solution after enduring this inconvenience of the construction process and decades of oversight of this street repair. Before I conclude, I would be remiss not to express our sincere appreciation for the courteous and respectful conduct of the city inspectors, contractors, and engineers involved in this project. Their commitment to addressing our concerns and ensuring the project's progress was commendable. In particular, I would like to highlight the exceptional professionalism and dedication of Assistant Engineer Christine, who I believe is here, whose efforts and genuine attention to our neighborhood concerns did not go unnoticed. In fact, I believe it is in large part due to her efforts that the contractors are finishing further repairs and necessary improvements today. This collaboration between the community, the city's representatives, and the contractors showcase the potential for constructive partnerships. It is a testament to the spirit of cooperation that makes our city strong. We look forward to continuing this positive relationship and working together to address the concerns I've raised while building a stronger, more vibrant community for all residents. In conclusion, while we are very grateful for the efforts put into upgrading Luke Lane, these issues must be addressed to ensure that our community enjoys the full benefits of this project. We look to you, our City Council, to work with the relevant departments and agencies to rectify these shortcomings and make sure Luke Lane is a source of pride for our neighborhood. Thank you for your attention to these concerns.
Thank you. Let me see if there's any questions for you. Steve?
Taylor, thank you for all that information. I wasn't aware of the trash issues. There's another neighbor you have. His name's Peter Lukak.
Sorry, what's his role?
Peter. He's a neighbor, and I think he has the property that the water was overflowing onto, and the dirt and the gravel. So I went out after the rain. Today on our agenda is to approve an additional $50,000 to correct that.
Yes, as I understand, that's to finish the improvements that they're currently doing right now. That has to do with curbs that broke, the blacktop curbs, as well as driveways that were installed too steep. That's not to deal with any of the issues that I addressed.
I will check with the city manager.
Actually, the $50,000 increase is to address a lot of the issues out there. We think that some of those items that the resident pointed out will help resolve some of those issues. It's also, it's important for the council to recognize that this neighborhood was developed in a way that we would never develop it today, right? With the different grade of street and houses. And so we're having to sort of backward engineer some of the street. And so we are asking the residents to be a little bit patient with us as we try to figure out the best way. And we recognize that this will be a bit of an ongoing process, and we may have to wait until the next rainstorm unless we bring out helicopters full of water to simulate rainstorms, which we're not going to do that. But we may have to see what the next rainstorm brings until we do small corrections over time.
Okay. So we hear you, and I think you've been in touch with Councilman Ortiz. I've been in touch with Peter. So somehow we'll still try to get things solved for you.
Much appreciated.
Bill?
Eric?
Sir, I just wanted to commend you. Your speech was very well written and very well spoken.
Thank you.
So you did one of the best jobs I've ever seen anybody do here at the council.
Well, thank you. Any further questions?
No, thanks for coming. This is what the government is all about. You should be able to come and tell us what the problems are and hopefully come to a civil understanding and solutions. So thanks for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank you
guys.
again, Taylor.
Our last speaker is Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Graham. I mean, Mr. Mitchell. It's just a joke. I wonder if you remember 10 years ago when I was talking about all this stuff with the county and how they dump everybody in East County. They're paid agitators. I don't know if you remember what I call them, paid agitators. They get money for being drunk and high. They get Social Security, SSI. So they set these people up in businesses behind cameras and mess with people so that the county gets to record reaction. I don't know if you guys know that, but I've been out there for 14 years and I see it. And of course, I give them what they're looking for. You know, drop the F-bomb. I'm trying not to do that. But that's not right. Why are we letting county dump people in East County, especially Lemon Grove? I don't see it so much in El Cajon, but I see it in La Mesa and Lemon Grove. I mean, these people, they mess with people just to get reaction on camera, and then it turns into a fight, and it's just not right. Thank you for the concerts. I can't wait until the last one. I mean, I don't want it to be the last one, but they're fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
No other comments, sir.
Okay. There are no written communications and no public hearings on today's agenda. We have 3 administrative reports on today's agenda. Item 11 is an update on the Magnolia's financial performance, and I'll ask staff to tell us all about this.
Hey, good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I'm joined today by Paris Landon, the Magnolia's General Manager. We're here to provide a financial update on the Magnolia since it opened in September 2019. Paris is also here to share some of the exciting shows coming up and developments at the Magnolia, as well as some insights about our customers. Before I dive into where we are today, I wanted to touch on where we were at back in 2009, prior to closing what used to be the East County Performing Arts Center. Back in 2005, the city signed a management agreement with Artbeat, which was a subsidiary of the Christian Youth Theater, to manage the facility. By 2009, Artbeat had defaulted on the management agreement because they failed to provide headline acts, citing the difficulty of competing with local casinos. At the time, the city was spending about $600,000 a year to keep the doors open, and that, coupled with the recession, led to the closure of the ECPAC. The city recognized that if we were going to reopen the theater with a different result, that we would need a different management model for the theater. In 2017, the city began negotiating with Live Nation, the worldwide leader in live entertainment. And by 2019, we had signed an agreement with Live Nation to help us renovate and manage the Magnolia. Shortly after, extensive renovations began, and the theater was rebranded to the Magnolia. So the Magnolia hosted its first opening event in September 2019. But by March 2020, just 6 months after opening, COVID struck, as you all recall, and the state and county regulations forced the facility to close. In September of 2021, after 19 months, the facility was allowed to reopen, albeit kind of slowly because of capacity restrictions and COVID surges kind of reappearing. To account for this, in March of this year, the City Council approved a 2-year contract extension with Live Nation, which extends the contract to August of 2026. Okay, so as we take a look or get into the financial performance of the Magnolia, there's really 2 performance metrics established in the management agreement. One was events per contract year, which is what this graph shows. As you can see, the teal lines show the contracted number of events per year. So that's what's specified in our management agreement as a performance metric. And then the dark blue line shows the actual number of events put on in that fiscal year or that contract year. The first 2 years, you see the impacts of COVID. We opened the facility for about 6 months, got 42 events out, and then shut down. And then the second year, we literally, I think it was a couple private rentals. And then by the third year, we reopened in September, so a couple months into that. Despite the slow and gradual reopening, we're still able to get out 60 events in that year. And then you look at last year, which is July of 22 through 23, June of 23, and we hosted 80 events, which is 20 more than the contract target and 20 more than last year. So you can see we're really ramping up operations at the facility. And then so far this year, and that's that final year on the right, we've booked 51 events through December. So that's half the year we're at 51 events. So it looks like we're going to meet our target this year as well. The second performance metric specified in the agreement was in the form of a pro forma or financial forecast. So that's what this graph shows. The Magnolia's AOI is what's depicted here, which is basically the adjusted operating income. It's what we get when we deduct the show expenses, fixed and variable expenses from the venue's revenue. So when we signed this agreement, we anticipated that we would be subsidizing the facility for the first 5 years, and you can see the teal line there, about $325,000 annually. And then the dark blue line depicts the actual AOI for the facility. So again, you can see the first 2 years the facility didn't perform that well being closed, but by year 3 and 4, you can see we're operating at about $300,000 a year in the green, or dark blue in this instance, which is a difference of about $600,000 from the bottom of the teal blue line to the top of the dark blue line. So it's outperforming its expectations by about $600,000 annually. So apart from the Magnolia's AOI, the city has additional expenses. The city pays Live Nation an annual contract cost of $375,000 a year to manage the facility. In addition, we have about $250,000 annually in utility and maintenance costs. We began transitioning the utility costs about 6 months ago over to Live Nation, seeing as it is better fit as an operating expense. And this year, that brought our expenses down to $122,000. Next year, we anticipate it'll be down even further as we'll have a full year under our belt with Live Nation paying the utility bills. This transfer is important as the facility nears profitability and some of our profit-sharing thresholds. It also decreases, if you looked at the AOI from this slide, it decreased what would have been an AOI of about $400,000 for the facility. This next slide is our net position. So essentially, that's adding the AOI of the Magnolia and the city's expenses together, and it gives us this net position. You can see where, the first 2 years with COVID, it didn't look so good. Then the last 2 years were performing much better. This past fiscal year, we're at about $200,000 for our net position, which is an improvement of about $150,000 from last year. So with that, I'd like to invite Paris up to share the exciting stuff.
Hey, Paris.
Hello again. I'm Paris. I'm the general manager at the Magnolia, and I've been with the venue since we came back from COVID. So a quick update, looking at the year in review, we've had a very busy year with a combined total of 80 events, and that's between our 3 revenue streams, so special events, rentals, and then our promoted concerts. As David mentioned, we had 46,000 attendees for ticketed events and ended almost $600,000 above contracted budget. I've listed some of the top shows from last year so you can see there's a lot of variety. 2 nights of Morrissey, who's a living legend. Spanish music, was sold out Cafe Tacuba. Beach House, which sold out to a young hipster demographic. I just had to add that in for you, Bill. And then also we have famous comedians Nick Swardson and Seth Meyers, and even a great amount of children's events, including Disney Junior Live and Peppa Pig. The artists we bring in don't just come from the local area. This heat map shows we have sales down right to the border, including sales in Mexico and stretching up all the way into Los Angeles. You can see while a lot of sales are focused in East County, we have heavy sales all throughout San Diego County, including Encinitas, Del Mar, the Pacific Beach areas, and a lot of ticket sales in Chula Vista and Alpine also. So we're getting a lot of people from all around the community coming and experiencing El Cajon. Our special events department continues to grow. Last year we had a lot of repeat clients, TEDx Kids, Camp Cajon, the East County Transitional Living Center with headliner Mayor Wells, and also many new events including Heroes of Color, which celebrated 5th grade art from the National City students, Guiding Hands concert, benefiting those with special needs, and even an East Indian spiritual celebration for one of their leaders. We're excited to see the number of special events growing and continue to work on that business revenue stream. We wanted to touch base on the use of waste management sponsorship money and how it's been used to bring in A-list artists and do community events like the Haunted Circus. We're excited to be currently working on a new community activation for America on Main Street with Adam from Parks and Rec, and just really glad to see how this money can bring in both great acts and give back to the community as well. Guests continue loving coming to the venue. Every customer who buys a ticket gets an email after the show where they can rank their experience and also leave feedback for us. And as you can see, the venue continually gets high scores. This is a much higher rate of feedback than Yelp or Google because it goes out to every single customer. So we're getting hundreds of people responding from each event. And this lets us know what trends customers are experiencing and lets us know if there's something that we need to change or work on to make the experience better for those guests. We took the year to make some improvements to the building, adding a mural from an artist backstage to really brand the space for those musicians coming from out of town. So they know A, they're in El Cajon, and B, they're at the Magnolia Theater. In the lobby on the sidebars, we built out 2 new back bars with fridges to help increase the speed of service and also give a better display for our guests and improve their experience. Looking ahead, we have a very busy fall coming with 51 events currently on the books from July through the end of the year. We have some great comedians coming to the venue, including Leslie Jones from SNL, 3 shows with Pete Davidson starting tomorrow. We just played off Spanish pop star Dana Paola and have the upcoming sold-out shows Laffy, who is an Icelandic Chinese singer-songwriter, and the country band Mavericks, plus many more shows and special events, especially around the holiday season. We wanted to make sure local El Cajon businesses are represented at the venue, so we're proud to now be offering Burning Beard's Hazy IPA at the theater's bars. So far, it's been a huge hit with fans since we brought it on, and we're excited to see this partnership grow. We also wanted to make sure we were alleviating long wait times at bars. Our sponsor, Estrella Beer, provided us with this new outside bar, which allows us to add 3 points of sale in the venue for busy shows. We added new food items to the outside area, including fresh-made tacos, empanadas, elote, and nachos, with the continual goal to increase the amount the fan is spending while they're attending the shows, with the goal of increasing the bottom line to the city.
So I wanted to close out on this slide. We recently added to My El Cajon where you can access the Magnolia and upcoming shows, and you can actually purchase tickets. Just another unique way that we can use the My El Cajon app to tell our story, and I'm pretty excited about that. And with that, I'm available, or we're both available for any questions that you may have.
Questions? Michelle?
Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation, both of you. I've been to many, many, many concerts at the Magnolia since we reopened up, and have enjoyed it. And when I go out to dinner before a concert, I have asked people, so where are you from? You know, just to kind of get a feel of the audience. Is it just El Cajon, or is it outside? And the one night that I was over at Testo Pesto, there were people from North County coming out. And so it's great that we have this venue, that we're getting all the other parts of the county coming into El Cajon and making us look a little better than what, you know, has been in the past. And I think this is wonderful. You guys are bringing in great acts, and I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Very thorough. Our net position, I'm encouraged by. It's fantastic. We're reducing our costs, especially since prior to that we were at $600,000 a year to the city. So, and getting Pete Davidson 3 times is only going to make that continue to go up. So, thank you very much for that. My question would be: I've only been to a couple of events at the Magnolia, but I wasn't here for the vote when the council decided to revamp it, which I'm a huge proponent of. But I believe one of the reasons was to kind of spark interest and growth downtown. And Michelle, you said that you went to dinner before. I'm curious, what's it been like after shows get out? Maybe people are looking to go to a restaurant, get a drink, get a bite to eat. Are we partnering and communicating with the restaurants in the downtown area to say, hey, we have events these nights? They're probably going to be popular. It's a young hipster crowd. They might be looking for a drink. That might not be to Dave. It might be to our marketing manager, our city manager. But what is that? Maybe communicating or coordinating with the P-bid. I'll leave it out there because I would think that it's our desire as a council to maximize these events as much as possible to spark downtown.
We don't think that downtown businesses are fully taking advantage of the venue. Mm-hmm. We think there's some opportunities that are being missed right now. Mm-hmm. We have a long-term, as you know, we're working with potential food hall. Mm-hmm. In fact, we just reviewed RFP responses today, so that's moving forward. So I think as we bring in some fresh perspectives and some fresh businesses, they may see the value of that, and then as they have success, it may help other businesses recognize, oh, we can take advantage of that too. So I think there's a slow process in moving that forward, but I don't think it's been fully realized to this point.
Okay. Yeah, Michelle, go ahead.
I just had a wonderful idea. You know, when you go to the movies, you sit through previews. We have a screen in there. You could maybe attract business or attract restaurants. Drop the screen down while you're waiting for everything to start and throw advertising. You know, come see us after dinner, or, you know, come see us after a concert and come have dinner at the Downtown Cafe or have dessert at Sultan's or wherever. But that's an opportunity right there. You have a captured audience, so to speak, and you could drop that screen down. I'm sure Chris could come up with great ideas, and that's another revenue stream. You know, maybe not make it extremely expensive for the restaurants, but something. It's just an idea.
Yeah, we're not really set up to use the screen in exactly that capacity, but something I talked about with David, and we met with some people about the P-bid this year, is trying to build those relationships, because unfortunately I just don't know a lot of the restaurant owners, and I know, at least for my employees, they want to go out after their shift, and a lot of times there's not places open. But I think using, you know, maybe the Magnolia's website, it's a city asset to have a tab of, hey, visit these great restaurants when you're planning your visit, when you're coming, as we continue to grow. And as Dave said, build these partnerships. And maybe some people do want to have a lot of coordination. That's something we can definitely look at. And it's one of our goals to bring more people into the community, not just spending money in the business, but in the community as well.
Great. My only other question would be with regard to our electricity costs. Do we have any plans to put solar to offset those costs for electricity bills at the Magnolia?
We've looked at putting facilities on top. That roof is smaller than you think it is.
Oh.
There's not a lot of space up there, and it's not designed or engineered for that weight.
Got it.
As you know, we were in the process of looking at some solar here in the City Hall complex area. that bid was rejected and that we've gone out to bid, or we're about to go out to bid on that again. So that will help defray some of the costs to the city overall.
Great. Thank you.
Great presentation and great for the community. Good work. Thank you. Going off of Councilmember Mitchell's idea, if you're not set up with a screen in front of the main thing, perhaps you would consider large format screens on rolling carts around the lobby. And those might have advertisements for anything, whether it's restaurants or other businesses, because those are mobile. You can move the carts around, that they're not a fire issue. But you can hear us trying to come up with ways to connect you and the downtown business owners better, because you handed them a gift when you drew 46,162 people last year. That is a gift to a business owner when you're talking about customer acquisition that didn't cost you anything. So we're just trying to help ideas get them over the line. A question on the net position after city expenses slide. For last fiscal year, a deficit position of $222,000. That's fully loaded. That's the management expense, utilities, that's everything, correct?
Yeah, that's all the expenses that the city pays, and we have a dedicated account specifically for the Magnolia, so that makes that portion easier. They already directly pay the police department costs and other expenses related to the facility.
So if I divide 222,000 cost for us divided by 50,000 visitors, it's about $4 a person that the people of El Cajon are paying to get people to come into our community. That's a really good deal. I know from my experience, my customer acquisition costs anywhere from $30 to $200 to get somebody in. So for $4, you're doing something great. My final question is about the food at the pre-show. Is that part of your national food service contract, or those local vendors as well?
That is an internal employee, so through our food and beverage contract. So he's making the food on site as an employee and serving the food. And I don't know if that answers it accurately.
So you haven't found a local business that has said, hey, we'd love to do that?
We haven't, and it's really difficult in that space because you have to keep in mind sometimes we'll have a show and then we won't have a show until next week. So it can incur some food waste. So the margin is not huge, but when we're doing it internally like this, our portion that Live Nation gets from the food contract comes back to the city directly. There's no additional cost to pay another third vendor.
And are you finding interest from dessert, pastry, cake, cookie vendors to have those kind of dry goods on site?
We haven't had a lot of interest. Definitely our food and beverage manager went and spoke to a few local people in the community looking at different food options, but the price points was just not going to work for what we need to be able to make a profit on it. And it was difficult because they were having trouble making the appropriate amount without charging us extra. So I think it's something we're going to continue to work on, but having a local partnership with an El Cajon business that serves beer is great because I can keep it in the fridge and it's going to be good for the next show.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Sure. We make some money off the concessions in this. Was that added into this equation?
Correct. It goes into our AOI and then comes straight to the city with the rest of the AOI.
Well, great. Well, listen, I just want to say that I've been here since 2008, and I remember when we didn't have Live Nation here, and it was nothing like this. This has been a success, I think, beyond our wildest dreams. We're very happy at the way it's all working out. And I think, like Steve says, I mean, there are so many added benefits other than just the dollars and cents. It really, it's a good marketing tool for the city. It brings up our stature in the surrounding community. And I think it's just good for the citizens in general to have so much positive activity happening and people coming in and having such a good time when they're here. I think overall it's been tremendous. So thank you very much for all your hard work. Thank you, crew, and everybody. I've worked closely with you all before, and I'm always impressed by the professionalism and how just nice everybody is. So thank you very much.
We're very happy to have the whole team, and I think, we're happy to be here. We love this building, and there's so much opportunity that every year we get a few more things right. We know to talk to a few more people or work with someone else. And so I think, this is our first kind of full, completely non-COVID year, and I'm excited to see what the next year brings.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see if there's any...
We have no speaker cards, sir.
No speaker cards? Okay. Well, thanks very much for coming. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I'm looking for a motion.
Move to accept the report.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Thank you. The second administrative report, item 12, is for an operating covenant with CarMax Auto Superstores. And I'll ask our city manager to tell us all about this.
If we get the presentation loaded. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. The purpose of this agenda item is to present an operating covenant with the CarMax Auto Superstores, Inc. An operating covenant is really a technical way to say a sales tax sharing agreement. As the council is aware, the city has similar agreements with Honda, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and most recently Mazda dealerships. And these have been in place over the last couple of years. The intent of this agreement is really to help CarMax bridge some unforeseen costs as part of their development of the site. They currently, the nearest location of a CarMax to El Cajon right now is in Kearney Mesa. So the siting of a CarMax in El Cajon will help draw from a large swath of potential customers throughout the county of San Diego. We estimate, based on their pro forma, that over the next decade, it will generate about $7 million in general fund revenue to the city of El Cajon through this car dealership. So CarMax plans to open at 1100 Wagner Drive. As you can see from the map, it abuts to a neighborhood to the west of it, but it also is across the street from Wagner from the Mercedes dealership and across Marshall from the Toyota, Honda, and Lexus dealership. So it's in an area that is used to having auto dealerships. This site has been vacant for about 6 years. It was previously operated by Case Construction, who vacated the site, like I said, about 6 months ago, or 6 years ago. So this lot, at this point, has generated no real economic impact to the city of El Cajon. It sat vacant, creating a blighting condition in the neighborhood, and it also has had some missed opportunities. This has been a site that's been actively promoted. City staff has reviewed several applications over the last couple of years, a lot of them having to do with construction yards of that nature, and staff has pushed back on those because we thought holding out for a dealership made a lot more sense in this area. So what this agreement would do is obligate CarMax to complete the development, about a $12 million development, and open up its doors by the end of March 2027, and then they'd be required to stay open during the duration of the agreement, which is an 8-year agreement. The city's obligation is that it would share sales tax after it received $350,000 of a threshold or a base sales tax. So once that $350,000 is generated, then the city would share a portion of the remaining sales tax to CarMax. Staff has developed a scale by which the sales tax would be ratcheted from 75% going to them down to 50% in year 8. This is a very similar arrangement to a lot of the current agreements that we have, although most of our agreements would have the first 5 years would be 75%, or in one case 65%. This year, under this model, it actually ratchets it down every single year. One of the intents of this is, as CarMax is getting up and running, we would share a greater portion of that money. But as their sales grow, then the city begins to get a bigger portion of that growth in sales. The other thing that makes this agreement different than the other sales tax sharing agreements that we have is we actually have the agreement capped at a certain dollar amount. So once the $2 million mark is reached, and let's say that's accomplished in year 5, the agreement would terminate in year 5. It would no longer continue to go on. And so the city is then protected, and its taxpayers are protected from ongoing share of revenue. So with that, staff is here to answer any questions that you have. There's also a representative from CarMax, Whitney Hodges, is in the audience to answer any questions from the CarMax perspective. If there are no questions, or once the questions are answered, staff would recommend that the City Council adopt the resolution that's presented before you in the staff report, which would authorize the signing of the operating covenant, and it would also allow the city manager to make some minor changes, clerical changes as needed. So with that, we're here to answer any questions, and Ms. Hodges may have a few words to say as well.
Thanks, Graham. Hello, Ms. Hodges. How are you?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Wells and council members. I'm Whitney Hodges. I'm here on behalf of CarMax. I think Mr. Mitchell did an amazing and articulate job, so I'm not going to try and top that. I'll keep it short and sweet. I really just wanted to come before you and the city and say CarMax is very excited about the prospect of operating in El Cajon and in the city and being a contributing member to the community for a long time to come. So we'd also like to say thank you to Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Foley, and the entire city staff for working with CarMax so professionally during the approval process of this project, including this operating covenant. I'm here to answer any questions if there are any, and if not, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much. So now will be the chance for the council to ask questions of the city manager or of our representative from CarMax. No, wow, you overwhelmed us with. There's no questions.
Oh, Mr. Mitchell.
Don't give him a big head. We gotta live with him. So, okay. Then, are there any speaker cards on this item?
We have no speaker cards, sir.
Okay. Then I'm looking for a motion.
I have some comments. Questions.
Comments. Yes.
So the $2 million, just for the public's awareness, I guess, is not a giveaway. It's to help compensate CarMax for perhaps expenses they didn't anticipate. And I see here in the staff report, undergrounding utilities, a water vapor system, hauling and disposing of contaminated soil, a stormwater detention system. So the $2 million the public is providing is to help with some unanticipated costs. Am I correct in thinking that?
That's correct, and those costs have the potential to undermine the whole deal. And so it's really, we look at it as an investment of $2 million in exchange for $7 million in ROI.
Yeah, so I think that's taxpayer money well spent. And some people ask, why are you giving money back to them? And this is the reason why. So with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the next resolution and the staff recommendation.
Just a quick comment to go off of Councilmember Goebel's point. This is all to the public. This is all unrealized gains. So the sales tax revenue that the city is going to receive, we're not receiving at this point. So it's an incentive to attract these car dealerships to the city of El Cajon. In lieu of raising taxes, we can bring more business in and increase our tax base. And so this is unrealized tax revenue that the city did not have. So it's not like we're writing a check to CarMax and saying, here's $2 million, good luck. As revenue comes in, we will be sharing some of that with them, but it's unrealized. We never had it until they're moving, until they move in. So with that, I'll second your motion, Mr. Goebel.
All right, moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Okay. Thank you very much. The last administrative report, item 13, is for permanent local housing allocation funding and program approval. I'll ask staff to introduce this item. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I'm Jose Dorado, Housing Manager with the Housing Division under the Community Development Department here at the City of El Cajon. Today's presentation provides a summary of recommendations for PLHA funding and seeks program approval from the Council. Next slide, please. This slide gives a brief timeline of for how we got here. October 25th, Council approved the spending plan. Then HCD, the State of California, approved our application and spending plan. The city issued requests for proposals from eligible nonprofit organizations, and applications were submitted by the deadline of August 11, 2023. Upon review of the applications received, staff is providing the following recommendations for PLHA as listed here in this slide, as well as in attachment 1 of the agenda report. So for administrative costs, we're allocating $68,811 to the city, and the rest of the funding recommendations are for homeless services with various nonprofit providers that we are really familiar with working with currently or in the past. The next category I'm going to cover is the ADU Accessory Dwelling Unit Loan Program. So staff is recommending $632,109 for a low-interest, non-forgivable loan for owner-occupied homeowners to construct an ADU within city limits. And there's various terms depending on the subsidy and the amount of affordability for each of the units. The ADU must remain affordable during the term of the loan for a minimum of 5 years. And the tenant's income cannot exceed 150% of the area median income. So in grand total, it's about $2.7 million in total allocations between the homeless services, city administration costs, and the ADU loan program. Next slide, please. And I've already covered this slide. Thanks. So the next steps is for the city to submit the resolution to HCD with all of our funding approvals, execute the agreements with nonprofit service providers, and then launch the ADU program. And staff is available for any comments from the council.
Questions? Michelle?
Okay, thank you very much. Nice presentation. So let me just get this straight. You're asking, we're looking at $632,000 for everything. That's the ADU and homeless services.
The total is $2.7 million.
$2.7 million, okay. And the $632 is for ADUs.
For the ADU loan program.
Okay. So question, we have $632,000. And how long do we have to disperse those funds?
So there's some deadlines with HCD. So for the ADU loan program, we have about 2 years to spend the first allocation. It's about $300,000. And then we have another year after that to spend the additional $332,000.
So we have 2 years to spend $300,000, and then the additional time
to spend the remaining amount.
Okay, so 2 years to spend. And within that time frame, if in the 2 years that we have to disperse $300,000, if we don't get enough applications, say we have a whole swath of people that's like, nah, I don't want to do it. What do we do with the money? What happens with that, with the funds that we've allocated for that, but yet we can't seem to get enough people to participate in the program?
So we would submit an amendment to the state. We'll come back to council with recommendations to move those monies to another eligible category under the PLHA program.
Okay. And are we going to have an informational, educational, let's do this, we need to have it type program to go out to the public?
Yes, we're going to. We had discussions with our communications department, and they're going to help us market this program to various homeowners here in the city of El Cajon.
Okay, and going back to the, let's see, and then going back to the housing allocation for homeless providers, Home Start, ECTLC, and Crisis House, how much was that again?
Can you go back to that slide, please? We'll pull that slide up right now. So this slide shows all the allocations for the various service
Okay.
providers.
All right, so I see that. And this is on top of other items that we've given them as well?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Is the loan for the ADUs, is that secured by a trust deed on the property? Or
Yes,
is it-
there'll be a deed of trust and a regulatory agreement recorded on each property to ensure that it's occupied by, we call moderate income, but it has to be a tenant that doesn't make more than 150% of the area median income.
Okay. And then, I don't know if you're able to answer this question. Maybe we have to get Ivan Angular to answer it. But how much did ECTLC get last year for the emergency shelter program, and when did they run out of money?
So last year, well, starting fiscal year July 1, 2023, they received $100,000, and they've already spent about $80,000 to date. So they already have about $20,000 from city funding this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Other questions? So, but I thought we gave ECTLC more than $100,000. We gave them ARPA money or something like that, CARES Act money.
We gave them some CARES Act money, but that money's already been fully expended.
Before this fiscal year? Okay. Oh, and it's a fiscal year. So we're in August of the fiscal year or where are we at? September?
It's
End of
October,
September,
yeah.
on a fiscal year that started July 1st, and we're almost out of money. That surprises me. I want to make sure that this money is going to El Cajon residents.
Correct. So there's a provision in the current agreement that our funding is supposed to go to El Cajon residents only.
So recently I was made aware of a situation where the police department showed up at ECTLC and said, I have a resident, and the response at the front gate perhaps was, I'm sorry, we don't have any room. We can't have that happen with this kind of money.
Correct.
That the people of El Cajon are putting in. So I'm going to look to the city manager and say, we need to ensure that this money is, I'm just surprised that July, August, September, in 3 months, we burned through $80,000 for supposedly homeless people who live in El Cajon, not from people being brought into the city, which we know other cities do. So I don't know the record keeping, the log, but you can see how the people of El Cajon want to be sure their money is going for its own homeless residents.
We also have a contract with the third-party provider that's going to be going out there next month to monitor all of the records and books to make sure they're in compliance with all of our agreements.
More questions? Just one. On the ADU program, it sounds like the assumption is that people will be renting out the ADU.
Right.
What if they're going to want to use ADU for family members?
That's probably a question for the city attorney, but in the funding, there's no provisions that it can't be rented to a family member. And it's more to create rental opportunities in the city of El Cajon. So whether it be family member or just a regular tenant, it creates another unit in the city that otherwise they would have rented probably somewhere else within city limits.
Thanks. I think that's it. Any more questions? I think we're good. Thanks very much. Any speaker cards on this item?
Yes, sir. We have one from Dr. Crystal Pugh.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. So I'm Dr. Crystal Pugh. I'm the new Director of Programs with Homestart. So I just wanted to come introduce myself to all of you. I haven't had an opportunity to work with any of you yet at all. Actually, I've strictly just been working with them really with the PLHA and moving through. And Homestart in general, we're just very excited to continue our support of El Cajon with this program. So thank you.
Well, welcome. How long have you been on the job?
90 days.
9?
90.
90. Okay,
Yes.
good. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else?
Mother Carr, sir.
Okay, it's back with us. Looking for a motion.
I'll move to accept the staff recommendations for projects and programs, to approve the program guidelines, and to adopt the next resolution order as outlined in the staff report.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
All right, there are no commission reports on today's agenda. Item 14 is my activities report. We're at activity reports for council members now, and I'm going to Deputy Mayor Steve Goebel.
As reported, and I'd also, Karina, before you go, we had Homestart out at a special enforcement detail at the MTS El Cajon Transit Center last Wednesday. They had 20 code compliance officers checking. They had 20 code compliance officers there to check fares of everybody that walked off of the trolley between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. They checked 933 people. There was a fare evasion of 34%. But most importantly, 10 people did accept code compliance or El Cajon PD's invitation to meet with Homestart, who brought 5 counselors to the event, who did help 10 people with referrals to Salvation Army, to other service providers, and to make appointments. So thank you for being there. That was an important event. Thank you to the PD for their participation in that event. They were kind of the third tier behind the code compliance inspectors, behind the transit enforcement officers, and then PD. PD made 2 felony arrests and 1 misdemeanor arrest. The misdemeanor was a rider who spit in the eye of a code compliance officer and had to go for medical treatment. The 2 felonies, one was a probation violation. The other one was a wanted parolee from the state of Oregon. And so that person is, as far as I know, locked up and awaiting extradition back to Oregon for a horrible offense. We'll just put it that way. And so it's a very good message that MTS is sending to the public that we're going to start enforcing fares on the trolley now. It's not just a free ride for crime anymore. And we're looking forward to expanding that test to other communities as well. So that's all of my comments. Thank you.
Steve, I want to commend you and your efforts at MTS. And I think that's a really good program.
Gary, what about your activity reports?
As reported.
Phil? As reported. Michelle?
As reported, with one exception, I did not attend the Kidney Academy opening. Something else came up instead.
Okay. So I think item 19 is a joint council member report from council members Kendrick and Mitchell. Who would like to tell us about this?
I'll start. This council has had a history of attempting to solve the homeless problem in El Cajon, and I think one of the things I hear is that the homeless people are reluctant to give up their pets, and a lot of times the pets are the only ones that are left that love them unconditionally. And I'm trying to eliminate all the barriers to the homeless people getting into the program. And I think if we could figure out a way to take care of their pets while they're in a program, they would be less reluctant to turn down the program. So I would like to ask the staff to come up with some ideas and funding suggestions as to how we can accomplish that. And I think that this is a situation where we can actually save lives, because a lot of them are out there on the streets and they end up dying on the streets. And if we can take care of their pets, They don't have to worry about the pets. The pets will be there when they get out of the program. I think that's something very desirable.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah, this is definitely whenever you're talking to the population and you offer them services, this is one of the barriers that comes up frequently. I have 2 pets. I'm working with a family right now, and that's one of the problems that they have finding shelter is because they have 2 dogs. And it makes it very difficult. I don't know how this can work out. I don't know if we can partner with the Humane Society or if we partner with several rescue organizations to see if we can come up with fosters. You know, a contract would have to be made. And I know that there's going to be some cost involved. But if we could explore this, and that's just one barrier that we can take down. So that when we are offering, when Karina and her team are out there and they're offering services to the homeless, well, I don't want to go in because I've got dogs. Well, here's an opportunity to do that, and this is our solution. It's something to look into, and I think if we partnered with rescue organizations, we could probably do it for a small amount, maybe just for the cost of food. Because you've got a lot of fosters. I'm a foster with a local rescue organization, and you know, they do provide food and they get donations and the like. So it's something I'd like to explore if we could.
Sounds great. Okay. Council members, questions, concerns? Steve, let's start.
My question would be, diverting staff off of kind of the goal-setting things that we did at the beginning of the year for the programs. We said, hey, staff, these are the projects we want to work on this year. So, A, can this be part of the goal setting for next January in 4 months? Can we table it until then? I don't know the volume, if this is a high volume request, and Homestart might know as you talk to people, we've had 25 or we've had 5, that would probably have an impact on how I would think. But I'm always sensitive when we ask staff to divert from something that all of us said was a priority at the beginning of the year with public input. So I'm not saying no, I'm saying can we table it till January's goal setting session to be included with other things, unless this is a high volume issue right now.
Well, let me ask if there's somebody who's got more experience with this than we do. If I see folks from ECTLC here, I see folks from Homestart. If anybody has some sense of what the volume might be, I'll be open to your input. Why don't you come on up so we can...
Mr. Mayor, if I can help refine that question, I think there's kind of 2 questions in that. One is how many people have pets that are reluctant to get service? That's number one. But the second would be how many would give up their pets to a shelter organization to go get service? I think
if it was available.
If it was available, yeah.
So the first question, I think there is a lot of individuals who are experiencing homelessness that do have pets and are reluctant to services. It is also part of a barrier when we try to permanently house them, because a lot of the times they need to be a service animal, and it is hard to get them to a clinic downtown, which is part of getting the animal a service to be a service animal. If we were to put them in shelter and they're able to have time to get that done and we provide transportation, I think they'll be more open to services. The second part, I don't know how much, I think it would be 50% of someone saying, yes, put my pet in the shelter and I can visit, while I receive services. We'll have some that will say no. For us, when we do put them in emergency shelter, we do cover the pet costs in the motel. I know for ECTLC, they don't allow the pets to come in.
So on the street, would you say you can think of 25 people that you've run into with pets that this might change their life?
Yes.
Okay, that changes my perspective as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Folks from ECTLC, do you want to comment on this or no? Dr. Julie Hayden.
We don't accept pets because it is difficult, so I'm definitely excited to brainstorm. Maybe there are partners we can join with that would be able to house the pets. So it is definitely a percentage of people that's a barrier, so we'll just be partnering with you as you brainstorm. I do think it's similar to other barriers where it's also, a person's weighing the options. So sometimes even if you did something with the pet, there still may be other barriers. But we're willing to look at options if somebody is already taking care of pets out there in this way, like you say, the rescue locations, and somehow being able to team up. But definitely just personally working with the homeless population for a while, there's definitely a portion that they would not trust another agency to watch their pet. It would be that they want the pet with them, so there's still going to be a problem. So definitely open to collaborate. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Hayden. I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, we have a police chief and 2 police officers that deal with this all the time. They may have something to weigh in. They may not. I don't want to put them on the spot, but if they had something to weigh in, I would invite them to
Chief,
give some perspective
any thoughts?
to the council.
I'm not going to wow you. I'm just going to agree with what they said. No, I would agree with that. There are some that would not. They're not going to part with their animal. And I would think probably a majority of the population that we deal with is like that. They're not going to part with their animal. I'm sure there are some out there that if there was a viable solution, they knew their animal was getting taken care of, that they would be willing to part with it for services.
Thank you. Mike.
Just a comment. I'm torn because I know I was homeless, and I know that, there's multiple layers with regard to barriers of accepting help, but I just can't get the idea out of my head that El Cajon is always the city that's coming up with new ideas, and always the city that's looking for partnerships, and always the city that's moving forward with facilities and programs and things like that. And I would like to explore the idea of bringing in another city with this idea. I really want to press our Lemon Grove, Santee, the county to step up and really partner with this MOU we have, this memorandum of understanding, that we're going to work together regionally with this. And I just have some reservations about bringing in a new program and another program and another program over and over again, and the burden is continually on the taxpayers and the residents of El Cajon. So that's where I'm at, and I know that the idea is going to impact if there is shelter space, and there is Run a Mutt that does the volunteer work and washes all the dogs at the fire station. Maybe they'll donate stuff, but I really think we need to be looking at our other cities, and this is an easy win for other cities to get on the map and start pushing forward. So that's where my concerns lies, that El Cajon is always doing everything in the region with regard to homelessness.
Great idea.
So, Michelle and Gary, at this point, we're asking staff to come back and give us options. And so some of those options could be include talking to other cities about them partnering with us, participating in the program as well.
Yeah, I think what Phil said is a good idea. Let's talk to the other cities. And that's one of our options.
And I think at this point, we really don't know how expensive this program would be, right?
That's right. We don't know, and that's what we're asking for the staff to look at.
Okay. Well, I'm comfortable personally with letting them look at it, but go ahead.
So I agree with Ortiz and Kendrick. I think that bringing it in, bringing other cities in is a great idea. We can, when we're doing a joint presentation, we can only talk between the two of us. So this is good that we get input from the rest of the council. I like Steve's idea of pushing it off until January. I don't have a problem with that. This is an ongoing issue and has been going on for some time. So if we have to wait till January for goal setting, and we could leave that up to Graham to decide if staff has the thank you. The bandwidth to look into this. If they don't, if they're really focused on a lot, because according to Karina, there is a need to maybe at least explore it. If Graham feels that this would take staff away from something that's more pressing, then let's wait till January. I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if Gary wants to do that as well, but anyway,
well, I can tell you, for me, after the testimony that we received, I think it's worth sending it to staff to at least give us their idea of what to do and how to do it.
And that's great. And I think that partnering with other cities is one part of it. I think looking into various rescues that you'd have to put a contract together. Something that everybody would sign. But I know that everybody that I work with in the rescue that I work with are very much, upstanding people that you would trust, because we're taking lives and we're responsible for those lives while they're in our care. And so I think partnering with other rescues, partnering with other cities, and making it more of a county-wide thing. This should not be just, like Mr. Ortiz said, this should not just be an El Cajon thing. But we got to start somewhere.
Were you thinking about not using our animal shelter?
I think that Humane Society is probably overwhelmed with all the animals that they have as right now. I don't know if this is something that we want to bring on board. I know that they might have the space, but from what I'm hearing, their shelter is pretty full. And when you have to clear out the shelter events to open up space, that makes it kind of difficult.
Well, it sounds like we need to get the staff to tell us about this. But the question is, do you want to have them tackle this now, or do you want to wait till January?
Well, there's an alternative to that. We can ask for kind of like a report light, where they don't spend that much time and come back to us, and then we can kind of make a decision then if we want to have them spend a lot more time on it to give us more specific recommendations.
There's an easy analysis and a complicated analysis. The easy analysis is that the Humane Society already has a similar contract in place with the City of Carlsbad. So it would just be a matter of getting a copy of their agreement, looking at what their costs would be. I believe when you submit a dog to the Humane Society, they'll do shots, and so we would be paying for all of those services as well. The more complicated would be to reach out to different organizations. I know on a personal level, my wife watches dogs professionally. That's one of her jobs. And I know from what I heard just today that one of the things that would probably be a prerequisite of a program is the ability to go visit your animal while you're receiving services. So I don't know how many foster parents would be cool with people showing up at their home and spending time with their dog at their house. So those are the things that have to be fleshed out. I think that's a more complex. So staff could come back really quickly in the next meeting or two with, here's what the Humane Society offers. Where do you want us to go? And that could be, we don't like it, go explore more. And at that point, that would be a little bit more endeavor.
I would imagine that you could take the homeless population of the other cities that have these kind of services, kind of extrapolate the need based upon the number of people that they're servicing, and get a sense of how much we're going to be using as well. Wouldn't that be fairly, maybe not completely scientific, but reasonable?
I think we get a pretty good estimate.
So, that would be my suggestion, to do what Graham suggests rather than do the exhaustive research, and just give us a starting point. Does everybody in agreement with that?
I'm up for that, Mr. Mayor.
All right, well, I'll make the motion to do that.
I agree. Report light. It doesn't use a lot of staff time. It just uses your expertise and experience. We have a contract with the city of the city of Santee has a contract with the animal shelter. Are there any animals from any other places besides El Cajon and Santee going into that shelter?
La Mesa, we have a contract with La Mesa. So we actually have a contract with La Mesa. The Humane Society has a contract with Santee. So we have animals from both La Mesa and Santee coming in, one through a Humane Society contract, one through a La Mesa direct contract.
And do we have like first rights to a space? Or can La Mesa and Santee?
We've never had a situation where we've run out of space. And one of the advantages of the Humane Society is if there is an overflow, they can push the La Mesa or Santee dogs to one of their other shelters.
So if the initial recommendation was let's try it the Carlsbad way, we may not run into sorry, no room for you in El Cajon, even though it's your shelter because La Mesa and Santee filled up your shelter, and you're saying that we could work around that perhaps.
I think there's capacity for a program if you went the Humane Society route.
Yeah, I'm okay with.
Could we add to that that light analysis, reaching out to those partner cities in the MOUs, either city managers of their respective cities, and floating the idea to them? Graham, is that a heavy lift to have conversations with the 4 city managers?
Probably not a heavy lift at all to ask that question. The dilemma will be, because I would do the same thing, is if the La Mesa city manager asked me to opine on a program, I would not want to give an official opinion without going to you, the city council. So I may not be able to get a great sense, but I may be able to get a good feel of is there interest out there.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm looking for is gauging interest with other cities. Thank you.
Okay, well, then I'll make my motion to do what Graham has suggested.
Second. Oh. What?
Well, let's vote.
Let's vote.
All right, movement and a second. Let's vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Item 19 is, we got that already. Sorry. There are no general information items and no first readings of ordinances on today's agenda. We have a second reading and adoption of an ordinance on today's agenda. Item 20 is for amendments to Chapter 10.20 of the El Cajon Municipal Code. And I'll ask our city clerk to read the title. But first, Angela, are there any speaker cards for this item?
No speaker card, sir.
And would you please recite the title?
An ordinance amending Section 10.20.130 of Chapter 10.20 of the El Cajon Municipal Code to establish a new speed limit on a portion of Washington Avenue from El Cajon Boulevard to Granite Hills Drive.
I move to approve.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
There are no closed session items on today's agenda. This brings us to adjournment. The adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 26th day of September 2023, is adjourned until Tuesday, October 10th, 2023 at 3 o'clock p.m. Thank you very much, and I'll see you then.